Have you ever wondered how people create levels like this? Despite trying to replicate them or watching some tutorials, your level still looks trash. Well, I was there too, but then I discovered the strategy to build awesome levels in a short amount of time. Right now I have 15 creator points, and in this video I'll show you step by step how I built my most recent level. After watching this video, you can create feature-worthy levels too. Before starting with the actual level, choose the song. You can pick one from Newgrounds or use the in-game song library. You can set the offset here. Before starting to decorate the level, we need to build the gameplay first. This way we can focus more on the gameplay to ensure it's good enough before starting to decorate. First, select the game mode and speed that you think fits the song the best. If you don't want to start straight at the bottom, place an object and give it a new group. Set this group as a spawn group so the player will start at the Y coordinates of that object. I usually build my gameplay like this. I playtest the level and click where it fits well with the music. You don't need to do perfect click sync, but some kind of music sync's always good. Try to keep the gameplay clean. Experimenting may be good, but don't make it too weird. I also recommend not switching game modes too randomly. Stick with 1 or 2 game modes per section. Every game mode is different, so use their own special feature as much as you can. So don't make the gameplay too reliant on orbs, especially with flying game mode, cause that's something you can do with any game mode. I've seen many spring bars that are completely just orb clicks, so the game mode change was basically useless. Also, when the gameplay becomes too long to playtest, add a start position. If you wanna move your camera to a specific y-axis, for example, place a guide trigger and adjust the position to the correct spot. The guide trigger shows the edges of the screen with these lines. After giving it a new group, place down a camera static trigger and type the group here. Make sure to enable Y only. Then just tweak these values to make the movement smoother. Remember to also exit the static at some point. When the song gets more intense, use a faster speed. Many songs have this little break just before the drop. You can represent that in your level by making it half speed, and when the drop hits, change it to 2 to 4 times speed. In this song the drop is more calm, so I use 2 times speed. If you're copying your structures and flip them around, they may become unaligned with the grid. You can fix that by enabling free move and snap and dragging it to the grid. At the drop I made a ship section. Bringing gameplay to the flying game modes is often easier, cause you just have to place some structures and don't care about the music sync that much. This time I playtested and flew around and then built the structures around the gameplay. You can use gravity portals to give it more variety. If you notice a skip in your level, don't add any invisible toggle orbs and saws to patch it. Everything that kills you should always be visible. Instead, just modify the gameplay so it's impossible to skip anything, or just add a spike if you can. If there's some kind of transition where the player could die by accidentally clicking, you can disable the player controls with this trigger. Just remember to enable them after the transition. I noticed that by timing this portal click perfectly, you can get above this block, so I added a coin there. After you're done with the layout, it should be around a minute long, ask someone to playtest it. As the creator, you know exactly how to play the level, but it's very important to know how other people feel about it. There are unfortunately many toxic star grinders that are excited to tell you about how much your level sucks if it's not playtested well enough, so please, this is important. Also, if you don't have friends, you can ask someone on the Discord server. The decoration consists of 3 major parts: the block designs, air deco and background, and effects. And by effects I mean pulses and movements that represent the song. If you have all of these in a decent quality, your level should be considered rate-worthy. There are a lot of things that affect the rating, but these 3 are the most important. Now it's time to start decorating the layout. First, disable all of the start positions so we can start at the beginning. First, choose a cool looking background and ground and give them any color you want. Keep the background dark enough so the block designs look better. What I like to do is select all of the layout blocks, make them invisible and put them on another layer. Make sure to have layer locking enabled. Then lock the layer so you can no longer select them accidentally. To do that, make sure you have select filter turned on. Then click this button when you have the object selected. When you have this filter on, you can only select that specific type of object. Let's start with the block designs. Many new creators make this part too complicated, but the thing is that you can make almost any block design look decent with enough pulsing and air deco. First, create a basic structure with these outlines. I also made another layer in the middle. Now move on to another layer and choose a cool looking object. There are a lot of options and almost all of them look good. I give them some color, choose a color channel, then adjust the color of that channel to something that fits the background. I like to keep this circle around here and then just pick the right color from the outer ring. In this part I wanted to use two colors, so I made a color channel that copies the first one with the hue shift. This way when I change the main color channel, the other one will change too. I filled the rest of the space with some squares that use the second color. For the glow I made a new color channel that's a copy of the main channel with the maximum brightness. Remember to make it blending. Then I put the glow on the T2 layer so it's above the outlines. You can scale the glow like this to consume less objects. I want the glow to be more transparent on top of the design, so I double clicked here to open this HSV menu. Changing values here affects only the selected object and not the whole color channel. You can use black glow for shadows. Did you notice how I'm moving these objects without clicking these buttons? If you're on PC, you can move the selected objects with WASD and rotate with Q and E. To make the design more detailed, I like to add these thicker black outlines behind the normal ones. Make sure to change the Z layer to be lower than what the white outlines have. Also make them no touch so you can scale them. Now just copy the values and paste them to every object so you don't have to change them manually all the time. After doing the first design, apply it to the rest of the structures. Add some variation. For example, flip the colors around to make the level look more interesting. For these 1x1 blocks, I like to use a new design. This time I used these curve objects and it looked pretty cool. Now I decided to make 3D for the block design. Making 3D can feel a bit confusing at first, but it's actually pretty simple. For the top, just choose the 3D object without rotating them at all. For the side, turn the object to the left and flip it horizontally. Then fill it with an object you like. This time I used these objects and made them a bit darker with the HSV slider. Now this is completely optional, but I wanted to add the black outlines I used for the block design also to the 3D. After painfully making the 3D for the rest of the block designs, I started copy-pasting a design to every structure in the part. This is, in my opinion, the most boring part of creating, so I recommend listening to some banger music at the same time. Now it's time for the spike design. There are many ways you can make one. For example, just by adding a shadow gives a lot of detail to the spike. I wanted to keep the black and white outline theme for the spikes too, so I made a spike with white outlines and black center. Then I scaled the spike with the main color inside it. Around 1.67 is the perfect value. After adding a shadow, it started to look pretty nice already. To make the shadow less transparent, I gave it a group 10, which has an alpha trigger at the beginning to set the opacity to half. After giving it a bit more details, I linked the spike and started copy-pasting it. For the smaller spikes, use the warp feature to scale your custom spike design to the right size. On PC, use F5 to toggle on hitboxes so you can align the design to the perfect size. To make the camera move how you want, place some guide triggers and give each of them a new group. Then with the static trigger, you can set the Y position of the camera to any of the guide triggers whenever you want. Choose this object and set the color channel to your main color channel. Copy it and scale it down a bit. Then have fun with the object in the Sawblade tab. Finally, slap some glow on top and you have an awesome custom Sawblade design. At this point, the level looks okay, but it's missing the most important thing. To make good pulses, first figure out the BPM of the song. You can do that by clicking more on the artist and then tapping to the beat of the song. Wait until the number becomes stable and that's the BPM. Most of the songs are between 100 and 200. Now place a BPM trigger at the beginning of the first beat that you wanna pulse. Remember to check that the speed matches the speed of the level. Enter the BPM here and you should see these yellow lines on every beat. Place a pulse trigger to pulse the background a bit brighter for a short amount of time. I recommend a very short fading and no hold at all, just a fade out. Now align the pulses to every beat with the help of the guidelines or make them pulse to the melody. Try to represent the song as well as you can. If you have speed hack, you can use it to make sure the pulses are in the perfect position. Now copy all of the pulses and make them pulse the main color channels too. If there are heavy drum beats in the song, you can use the zoom trigger to make this effect on every beat. Just remember not to make it too heavy. Now the level just needs some air deco, so at first I made some ground spikes. Put them on the T4 layer so they're above the other objects. Then use this object, make it black and scale it up. Now you can copy it below the ground spikes. Add some glow on the T3 layer, then spice it up with some random details. You can change the speed of the default background with this trigger. Making the value a bit above 0.1 makes the level look like it has more air deco. Now it's time for the actual air deco. First I created this orb design with a black pulsing circle behind the orb. On top of that I put a random object I found in Sawblade tab. You can easily make cool looking arrows with these objects, then just copy it to some empty spaces. If your level is readable, don't add jump indicators. This way the player has to actually think about the level and not just look at the arrows. The part still looked a bit empty, so I spammed literally random objects from this tab to the empty spaces. The only thing that's missing from this part is movement. You can actually do this very cool movement effect with just one trigger. First, select every individual structure and link them. Then make sure at least one of the objects in each of the structures have an object with group parent enabled. Also give them a new group. Now place an area move trigger at the beginning. Make sure the target group is the group that you gave to the blocks and the center group is the player. Now select this option. Make sure you have XY mode enabled and move the Y a bit downwards. The length can be about 120. You can add some randomness here and set the offset around 10. What this trigger does is that it moves the object down the farther away the player is. The length value tells how far the player has to be so the maximum movement is reached. To make the movement more smooth, use the back out easing. I wanted to have some objects move upwards and some of them downwards, so I used this select random mod to select half of the structures and gave them a new group. Then I copied this area move, changed the ID and changed the target to the new group. Congrats! You made a cool part. Now you just need to decorate the rest of the level with new designs. For the second part, I used these objects for the block design but kept the glow outlines and 3D the same. I wanted the part to have different color, so I changed the main color to purple and gave the secondary color channel more hue shift. Then I painfully copy-pasted the designs for the whole part while listening to some Extruller bangers to keep my sanity. This time I decided to match the pulses perfectly to the beat instead of the melody. Make sure to disable the previous BPM trigger and make a new one that matches the current speed if the speed has changed. Then add some pulses to the background and align them to the BPM lines. This time I copied the pulses for every color channel for the maximum effect. When increasing the brightness isn't enough, you can turn the saturation down to make the pulse heavier. To make the pulses even more effective, you can use the edit color shader. Turn all of the brightness sliders up a bit. I wanted the screen to tint blue, so I turned blue to maximum. Now add another edit color trigger to fade out the effect. I made it so every other pulse tints red and the rest blue. For the maximum effect, I added a third edit color to make the screen darker just before the pulse. As you can see, the part looks pretty nice already. Then I made a similar parallax background as in the previous part, but with these tile objects this time. I also made this cool looking pulse effect that you can see in the background. Here's how you can do it. Place this object and give it a new group. Scale it down if you want. Place a pulse trigger to pulse as group. Now you can select both of the objects, copy and paste them and click build helper to automatically give them new groups. I did this 12 times. Now build whatever shape you want with these blocks and move the pulses to a straight line. Now align these pulses with the beat of the song. Then I copy-pasted these objects and built more shapes with them. I gave them a new group and made them move as a parallax background. Make sure there are pulses for the whole part. Then I finished the part with some random arrows and other air deco. Also remember to add the movement to these objects too. You don't need to add new area move triggers, just use the same groups that you used in the previous part. Now just use the same methods for the rest of the level. In the third part I made some background with these objects and in the last part I used these cloud objects as the ground spikes. If I skipped something you'd wanna know, or you want feedback or help with your level, leave a comment or join my Discord server. And while you're there, subscribe if you want, it makes my day better. After the level is finished, ask someone to playtest it again. Ask them about their opinion on the difficulty and to tell you if they found any skips or inconsistent clicks. After verifying your level, upload it and try to get a moderator to see it. If you wanna know how to get the level rated, watch this video.